Claire was 32 years old, worked in a mid-level corporate job, and had one big problem. She was bored. Not bored with her work, not bored with her city. Bored with her husband. His name was Michael. Michael was a decent guy. He woke up early, made her coffee, remembered her mom's birthday. He worked as a senior accountant at a manufacturing firm. Nothing fancy, but nothing shameful either. He brought in a steady paycheck, paid half the rent, and never once raised his voice at her. But here's the thing about Claire. Claire had grown up watching the wrong movies. She thought love was supposed to feel like a luxury car commercial. She wanted the house with the gate, the vacations where you don't check your bank balance, and the kind of wedding ring that makes other women jealous. Michael couldn't give her that. Not because he was lazy. He just wasn't built that way. He was happy with a quiet Friday night, some takeout, and a bad action movie. Claire saw that as weakness. David was Michael's boss. But not just any boss. David was the regional head of the entire company Michael worked for. He drove a black Mercedes, wore watches that cost more than Claire's monthly salary, and had that easy confidence that rich people develop when they've never had to stress about an electricity bill. David would show up at Michael's office parties once or twice a year. And every time, Claire noticed how everyone's energy shifted when he walked in. People straightened their backs. Laughs got louder. Even the air smelled more expensive. The first time Claire met David properly was at Michael's company annual gala. She had spent 3 hours getting ready. Her dress was new, her makeup was sharp, and she was determined to look like she belonged in that room. Michael, sweet clueless Michael, kept telling her she looked beautiful. She barely heard him. David walked over to their table. He shook Michael's hand, said something polite about his quarterly reports, and then turned to Claire. He looked at her for 1 second longer than he should have, and he smiled. That was it. That was the spark. David didn't flirt openly. He didn't have to. He asked her what she did for work, listened like he actually cared, and then said, "You know, we're always looking for sharp people. If you ever want to move somewhere with more room to grow, send me your resume." Claire felt her face get hot. She gave him her best smile and said she'd think about it. On the drive home, Michael talked about how nice it was that his boss was so approachable. Claire sat in the passenger seat, stared out the window, and thought about the way David said the word sharp. Over the next few months, Claire started pulling away from Michael. Not dramatically. It was small things. She stopped laughing at his jokes. She started working late even when she didn't have to. She would scroll through David's Instagram at night while Michael slept next to her. Then came the day that changed everything. Claire's company had a merger. Her department was getting restructured, and her boss mentioned that the new parent company's senior leadership would be visiting. She didn't think much of it until she walked into the conference room and saw David sitting at the head of the table. He wasn't just visiting. He was the new operations head for the entire group, which meant, without even realizing it, Claire now worked for a company that David's company owned. He wasn't just her husband's boss anymore. He was her boss's boss. David caught her eye from across the room and gave her that same small smile. Later that day, he sent her an internal message. Just 2 words. Small world. Claire's heart raced. She told herself it was a coincidence. She told herself to be professional. But she didn't stop messaging him back. Within 2 weeks, their messages turned from work to personal. He asked about her day. She asked about his trips. He mentioned he was divorced. She mentioned that Michael didn't get her anymore. And here's where Claire made her first real mistake. She started comparing. Out loud. She told her best friend that David was everything. Michael wasn't. ambitious, exciting, rich. Her friend, to her credit, said, "Claire, you're married." "Stop texting your husband's boss." Claire got defensive. She said it wasn't like that. But it was exactly like that. One evening, Michael came home early and saw Claire smiling at her phone. He asked who she was talking to. She said, "Work stuff," and locked the screen. Michael didn't push. He never pushed. And that, in Claire's mind, was another reason he wasn't enough. A real man would have asked to see the phone. A real man would have fought for her. See the trap? Claire had convinced herself that Michael's trust was weakness, that his patience was passivity. She had rewritten their entire marriage in her, had to make herself the victim of a boring life. Meanwhile, David invited her to coffee, then lunch, then a drink after work. Each time Claire said yes. Each time. She told herself it wasn't cheating because nothing physical had happened yet. But emotional cheating? That door had been blown off its hinges. The breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday. David sent her a message that said, "You deserve more than what you have. You know that, right?" Claire read that message 12 times. Then she went home, sat Michael down, and told him she wanted a divorce. Michael cried. Not loud, not dramatic. Just silent tears while he asked, "Is there someone else?" Claire lied. She said no. She said she just needed to find herself. She said they had grown apart. Michael, being the good man he was, didn't even hire a lawyer. He signed the papers within 3 weeks. He let her keep the apartment, the car, and most of their savings. He just wanted it to be over. The divorce was finalized on a Friday. By Sunday, Claire had moved her things into a luxury high-rise that David had arranged. He told her to take her time, to relax, to let him take care of everything. For 2 months, Claire lived like a queen. She quit her job because David said she didn't need to work. She spent her days at the spa, her evenings at expensive dinners, and her nights in a bed with sheets that cost more than Michael's monthly rent. She posted photos of sunsets from the balcony and captioned them, "Finally living." She thought she had won. But here's where the story turns. Because David wasn't just a rich guy looking for a pretty woman. David was a collector. And collectors get bored. One morning, Claire woke up to find David already dressed. He was standing by the window, sipping coffee, looking at his phone. She asked if everything was okay. He didn't look up. He just said, "I need you to move out by the end of the month." Claire laughed. She thought it was a joke. It was not a joke. David explained, very calmly, that he had never promised her anything permanent. He said she was fun for a while. He said she should have asked more questions before leaving her husband. And then he dropped a line that destroyed her. "You know I'm the one who approved your husband's promotion last year, right? The one that would have doubled his salary?" He turned it down because he didn't want to travel less and spend less time with you. He chose you over money. And you left him for me. Claire's entire world stopped. She didn't know about any promotion. Michael had never told her. She started shaking. She asked David how long he had known about her. He smiled that same smile from the gala and said, "From the moment you walked into that party, I saw exactly what you were. A woman who would trade loyalty for a luxury bag. I just wanted to see how long it would take." And just like that, Claire had nothing. No husband, no apartment, no job, no reputation. Because word travels fast in corporate circles. Everyone at her old company knew she had left Michael and run off with the big boss. And now that David had tossed her aside, she was a joke. The woman who threw away a good man for a temporary upgrade. She tried calling Michael. He didn't pick up. She tried texting him. He replied once. Please don't contact me again." She showed up at his office, hoping to explain. Security escorted her out. Michael had changed the locks on his new apartment. He had even blocked her on social media. For the first time in her life, Claire was completely alone. No safety net. No backup plan. Just the echo of her own bad decisions. She had to move back in with her parents. Her mother didn't say, "I told you so," but her silence was somehow worse. Her father stopped looking her in the eye. She applied for jobs, but her resume had a 6-month gap and a reputation attached to it. Every interviewer who recognized her name found an excuse to say no. She ended up working at a call center, making barely enough to afford a studio apartment in a part of town she used to make fun of. Let's pause here and talk about what really happened. Because this story isn't just about a woman who made bad choices. It's about something deeper. It's about the difference between wanting more and being grateful for what you have. Claire wasn't evil. She was insecure. She thought money would fill a hole that only self-respect could fill. She thought a richer man would make her feel valuable. But here's the truth that no Instagram influencer will tell you. If you don't feel worthy on your own, no amount of luxury will fix that. You'll just be a broke person with an expensive watch. And David? He wasn't a villain in the movie sense. He was worse. He was a mirror. He showed Claire exactly who she was, and she hated what she saw. He didn't trick her. He just gave her enough rope, and she tied the knot herself. Studies actually back this up. A study from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people who leave relationships for financial or status reasons are significantly less happy 2 years later than those who stay and work on their relationships. Another study from Rutgers University showed that second marriages after affairs have a 75% higher divorce rate than first marriages. Why? Because if you build a relationship on lies and greed, the foundation cracks before you even move in. Claire didn't know any of this. Or maybe she did, and she just didn't care. Either way, she learned the hard way. Now, here's the part that still gives me chills. 6 months after everything fell apart, Claire was walking home from her call center job. It was late, it was cold, and she was carrying a bag of cheap groceries. She turned a corner and stopped. There was Michael. He was standing outside a small restaurant, holding the door open for a woman. The woman was pregnant. She had a kind face and a simple dress. And Michael was looking at her the way he used to look at Claire. Like she was the only person in the world. Claire hid behind a parked car and watched them. Michael laughed at something the woman said. He put his hand on her back. He kissed her forehead. And then they walked inside and the door closed, and Claire stood there in the dark, holding her grocery bag, feeling like the smallest person on the planet. She later found out through mutual friends that Michael had remarried. His new wife was a school teacher. They lived in a modest 2-bedroom house. He had taken that promotion after all, the one he had turned down for Claire. He was making good money now. Not rich, but comfortable, happy. And the pregnant woman? She was due in 2 months. Michael was going to be a father. Claire went home that night, sat on her second-hand couch, and cried until she couldn't breathe. Not because she wanted Michael back. She knew that ship had sailed. She cried because she finally understood what she had thrown away. Not a wallet. Not a status symbol. A person who genuinely loved her. A person who chose her over money. And she had traded him for a man who saw her as a game. So what's the takeaway here? First, never marry someone for what they can buy you. Marry them for how they treat you on a random Tuesday when you're sick and grumpy and nothing is going right. Second, if you're unhappy in your relationship, Either fix it or leave with honesty. Don't line up a replacement before you've ended things. That's not bravery. That's cowardice with a calendar. And third, karma doesn't always strike like lightning. Sometimes it strikes like a slow, quiet realization. The moment you look at your life and realize you're the villain in your own story. Claire lost everything because she wanted everything. David moved on to his next distraction. Michael found real love. And the universe balanced itself out the way it always does. If you want to see what happened to David next, click the video on your screen right now. Trust me, his ending is even worse.